Hello ratbags, it's Jade, welcome to an Assassin's Creed Valhalla recap video again. Today we're going to be focusing on the big features. There's probably over 50 brand new bits of info I'm hoping to deliver to you. I've scoured over 20 different articles since the gameplay got revealed last night. I'm sure you've seen some of your favourite tubers actually play sections of it. I'm going to give you a definitive breakdown of what to expect. A couple of the big talking points that have risen this morning are that you will be able to change your character at any point during the game. If you want to be male for a little while, you can. If you want to switch to the female version of Ivor, you will be able to do so. So it does look like there's not going to be any backstory like there was in Odyssey, depending on what gender you chose. It looks like it's going to be more of a blank slate. And the second big bit of news is side quests are no more. Is this marketing speak, or will there really be no more side quests in an Assassin's Creed game? So all that, everything else to come, I've labelled it and put chapters in so you can skip ahead to the information you really want to know. Go and check me out and subscribe if you want the best in open world game news, RPG and survival content, and let's go through everything you need to know about Assassin's Creed Valhalla today. So the game is obviously set in 873, we knew that already, and it does look like King Alfred is going to be the main bad guy of the game, and it looks like you'll actually be helping King Oswald. Oswald was a pretender to the crown and wanted the throne for himself, judging by the Assassin's Creed story, as it looks like you'll be helping him in a lot of cutscenes we've seen from the demo. Oswald looks like a typical, maybe naive, good guy, and it does look like you will be helping him out quite a massive deal. So you're not necessarily going to be a complete enemy to every Saxon person. It does look like you will be forging some alliances, and it does look like you're not here just to raid and pillage, but also settle down. So maybe a little bit more closer to history there, as the Vikings did settle in the Isles of Britain or England way before the Normans came and invaded. In terms of where you're going to travel in England, it is all the way up north where York, you'll be able to explore some of these big towns and big cities, and as far south as the coastline, but most famous of course will be Londinium, otherwise known as London, and you will be going around the town or city of Winchester, which was the capital of Wessex, which Alfred resided in. So if you've been a bit underwhelmed seeing so much countryside or looking a lot like The Witcher, then there will be a lot of cities and towns, and much bigger ones. Londinium was one of the biggest in the country at the time, so there's definitely going to be a lot of room for jumping over and scampering rooftops. What a lot of the footage yesterday and the articles have revealed is what else you'll be doing while exploring the world. There is a bunch of different new side activities or returning features from older games, as well as some stuff from Odyssey that has just been revamped or renamed. As you can see, fishing makes a return, apparently not seen since Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Also the typical hunting that you've come used to seeing, that will also be in the game. You'll also be able to hunt legendary creatures, that is also a returning feature, so it'll be much harder to fight and maybe harder to find too. Chuck in archery competitions, drinking competitions, and the brand new feature which is flighting, a kind of mix between fighting and a rap battle where you pretty much will cuss out and insult your opponent until he gives in and cries to his mummy. You'll also be finding pagan rest places where there'll be environmental puzzles that you'll need to solve, moving rocks around and doing certain activities so that you can get extra rewards. And on top of that, the Animus is leaking into your time now, with Layla Hassan, the hero in modern times from the previous two games, returning. You will take over as her in certain portions of the game while you complete parkour challenges that are meant to be quite difficult. To help scope the landscape, you have got your raven called Sinin, and it will be able to be controlled like previous creatures in the game to give you a heads up of enemies as well as explore far-flung places. As in previous Assassin's Creed games, areas will be gated off by their power level, so depending on what level you are, you may find it too difficult going into certain areas and taking on challenges or boss fights until you've leveled up a little bit more. But leveling does work a bit differently, we'll go through that in a second, but let's finish off with one of the big important features, that there is no more technically side quests in the game. That is according to a bunch of interviews that have gone live this morning, stating that instead there won't be a map filled with hundreds of mission markers. The devs have stated that you as a Viking invading the lands of England, you wouldn't necessarily know people to get side quests. So instead they're calling it world events, and these world events will happen much more frequently, they'll be much shorter, they won't necessarily have to be completed to progress the main story. In addition to that though, the devs have kind of slipped into a bit of marketing speak, it looks like, because they have also got story quests, and these story quests will form part of the main mission, or you'll certainly need to complete them to go through. But it does look like they've kind of shifted the names a little bit just to try and get away from that stigma of Assassin's Creed being overfilled and over bloated. In reality, what it does mean is you'll come across maybe two children like this, you'll have a decent conversation with them, and you can choose to help them out, but it'll generally be quite small and quite sharp rather than long-winded and bloated. Markers won't suddenly randomly appear just because you're in ear or eye shot of an NPC. You will have to go and engage with them a bit more actively, and that's the whole premise of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, is to do even more exploring than you did in Odyssey. Returning feature from Assassin's Creed 3 is chasing little bits of paper. These will unlock brand new tattoo designs for either, and so they'll definitely be a must if you want to customise your character a little bit more. Lots of customisation will be there. You'll be able to change all the facial features and the complete look of your character at any time. And so yes, you will be able to change characters between male and female at any point that you choose. Just like previous Assassin's Creed games as well, you will be able to romance a whole plethora of people, and it doesn't matter what sex you are, they'll pretty much take you as you are. One mechanic that won't be returning is naval combat. Yes, you've got a long ship, and yes, you will be transporting your crew from place to place and taking the boat when you go to raid castles, forts and towns. However, there is no armaments on the boat because obviously this is the Viking age. There wasn't any cannons or anything like that back then, and so the Viking longboats really will just be for transport and some cinematics and to get around from A to B a little bit quicker, not necessarily for sinking other enemy ships or boarding parties. It does look like it's an in-bait mechanic that you will be using the longboat to initiate any big raids going on, choosing your team from your settlements for their perks and their skills, and obviously, like I said, you'll be able to revive them during combat at times. On the way to your raids or just going from A to B, you will be able to though sing a shanty. That is a feature returning from Black Flag, or try out the new method, which is actually tell tales. You will be able to tell a story of your great deeds to your men on your longship. The raid in itself is going to consist of, yes, a battering ram that you will be able to control independently. It's not a cutscene. You will have to direct the battering ram and choose how and when you attack the main gate door. You can take on the enemies by firing arrows at pots of oil that line the walls to try and hopefully start fires and reduce some of the fire arrows coming your way. And I'm sure you can expect the other stuff like siege ladders and pretty much trying to get up to the walls as quickly as possible, or break down the door so your men can flood and take over the settlements or the castle or forts. If you do decide to take the stealth element, it is now a toggle, so you will be in stealth mode just by tapping a button and having your hood up at all times, and then you can blend into the crowd like Assassin's Creed games of yore, as well as obviously sitting down and pretending you're eating, etc., to hide from any militant guards around you. I really am hoping they don't put this too much into the game where we have missions and we have to trail someone and hide 20 different times. It was part of the most tedious, boring gameplay from some of the previous Assassin's Creed games. Sometimes it's good to hide in plain sight when you're getting chased, and that was always great, but not necessarily every 2 seconds in every mission. And if siege warfare isn't your bag, but you still want some challenges while exploring the world, well, you will come across world bosses that will be part of that world encounters. But not only that, you'll also come across Drengers, very hard, difficult NPC enemies. These are true warriors and they're meant to be part of the ultimate challenge. When it comes to the actual combat itself, yes, you will be dual wielding and you will be able to hold different items in different hands, and they will give different uses. One example I saw was that using a flail in your right hand will allow you to throw and whirl it around and keep crowds at bay. But when it's in your left hand, it will do a little bit more direct damage, and that is the same for all sorts of stuff. You can dual wield shields if you want. One of them will be more defensive while the other one will be used for more attacking. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what combinations you can come up with and whether or not it's just going to be sword and shield or something a little bit more different. There are some brand new special abilities added to the plethora we've come to expect from the original previous games like Odyssey and Origins. Pretty much it is the combat system from them games, but with a little bit more heft, a little bit more weight. Some people are slyly comparing it to a little bit Dark Souls like, particularly with the riposte and the way that you can take some of these big world bosses down with just one hit if you perfectly time it. Not only do you have to worry about your stamina in the game, but you also have your adrenaline bar, which is pretty much your specials. You have to fill this up to use some of them special moves, and again it's pretty similar to Odyssey. They've just reworked some of the names and added some new ones, like a rapid throwing axe fire attack, which sounds pretty cool too. And then you've got the usual stamina bar. As I said, that is going to involve a lot more careful management with it. You're going to have to be careful how you defend and really use a whole plethora of options while taking out crowds of enemies. And of course the big one is that the health doesn't regen. You're going to have to find magical berries or eat while you're out and about, or collect these berries to use as almost like the potions from Dark Souls to refill your health at any time during combat. Overall, from the combat I've seen, it's definitely relying on you chaining together and thinking about how you'll encounter and how you'll take down your enemies and your foes in front of you. With the promise of the most varied amount of different types of enemies the game has ever seen, learning how to use your finisher moves or your special moves with your adrenaline points, and making sure that you're also using your other abilities as well as the hidden blade is going to be vital if you want to succeed in multiple fights. To help you with that, of course, is your powers and your skills. Unlike previous games, it all matters about your power level now. So your free skills will contribute to your overall power level, and that's what's going to be gated off to you when you explore some areas or come across certain enemies, whether or not your power levels can be high enough. So this gives you a bit more freedom to flow between the three disciplines, and they are kind of more or less returning from Odyssey. The wolf, represented by blue in the star chart skill tree, is going to be your stealth, your stamina, bows possibly. Then you've got the bear, which is pretty much the red skill tree, which offers more perks for health, maybe that melee style kind of build that you're used to playing. And then finally the raven, which is going to be pretty much yellow, which is going to be a lot more to do with stealthily and assassin skills. But from all accounts, it does look like they're mixing them a bit more, and you don't feel as confined between each discipline as you did in Odyssey. So yeah, good stuff. Will take a bit of time to get used to, and I am kind of keen on seeing the little Skyrim nod with the stars being this new skill tree system. And that is pretty much it for everything I've learned about Assassin's Creed Valhalla in the last 24 hours or so. I hope it's been benefit of you. If you really want to keep up to date with these games, make sure you're subscribed, make sure the notifications turned on. I'm going to be covering them in a big way. I will be here for release of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and particularly Watch Dogs Legion as well, something I'm really looking forward to. So let me know what you're enjoying about the gameplay reveals of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There does seem to be some little conversation brewing about whether or not Assassin's Creed needs to return to its roots of being more stealthy, being more like an assassin and less reliant on RPG tropes. But the simple truth is, people were not buying them types of games. They were being rushed out, let's be fair. Ubisoft were cracking them out every single year, so maybe just a bit of fatigue had set in. But for sure, the majority of players do want this type of RPG experience. Maybe a bit more refined, and maybe some more room to kind of play it how you want. And we can only hope Valhalla does have the room and the freedom for players. My name's Jade, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you for another Assassin's Creed Valhalla video very soon.